My name is Liz Compos. Online, I am at Pinky Neon if you want to connect with me. We are really excited today. We have a handful of fantastic panelists, eceertrey, Grime, and Yultek. Those are all of their online names. So if you want to follow them or connect with them, check out their work on their websites. They are fantastic and have a lot of great experience to talk about today with us. And then also today, I did just want to let everyone know this panel is a part of the Streetwise Boulder Art Mural Festival that is coming up. That is going to be happening September 29th through September 29th through October 2nd. And we're really excited to have that happening. Please join us for that in Boulder. There will be murals going up all over town and you can watch artists work. We'll also have a bunch of other events happening. And in addition to this panel, we do have a bunch of workshops happening. This year's Streetwise Mural Festival, we are beginning to incorporate augmented reality. So this panel is a perfect fit to introduce everyone to that and bring that into the conversation. So before we get started, I do just want to thank everyone again for coming and thank our fantastic panelists. And additionally, we have a couple of amazing sponsors that have helped us put on this event and are helping us put on the Mural Festival, including the Boulder Arts Commission, the National Endowment for the Arts, and the Boulder County Arts Alliance. They are great supporters and we're super grateful to have your help today and throughout the rest of the mural season. These artists are so incredible. I don't want to try to explain their backgrounds to you or talk about what they're doing. I am going to let them do that on their own. So first off, we have eceertrey. He is an incredible artist and has had great success in the realm of NFTs and virtual reality. Eceertrey, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Cool. Hi. Yeah, so happy to be here. Thank you guys for having me today. My name is eceertrey. You said give a little background on myself. Was that the?
Yeah, give a little background on yourself. Tell us what you're doing, what's happening, what you're excited about.
For sure. Yeah. So background on myself. I started as a photographer many years ago. Grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio. Went to school for photojournalism there. Always had a love for art, but never could, make money from art. So it was always like the thing that I did for fun after work, just as like my hobby and my passion. And it started mostly with the photography thing, led to some street art and graffiti and exploring downtown, just going places where people hadn't gone before and doing, playing with new techniques and tools. So it was the first time that I started playing with long exposure light painting photography. So I would go and I would set up my camera and I'm moving lights in front of the camera with the camera locked open, with the exposure locked open in pitch black in a tunnel underground, and created these abstract pieces of art. And from there, it was just oh, how can I learn more artistic softwares? And so I got really heavy into watching YouTube tutorials and, really just taught myself Photoshop and taught myself Cinema 4D. And I had this aha moment where I realized in Cinema 4D, which is this 3D rendering software, they you have a grid and you can put your photo in the background. And so then I was oh, I can put a shape, some 3D shape that I create, put it into this photograph. And now it's instead of light painting in my photography, now I'm putting an object in my photography. And it was oh, okay. So it was more learning from there. I was really lucky and got a job at a VR startup that was doing virtual concert spaces. This was 2017, 2018. So like before like metaverse was even a term really, and the whole idea being like you put on your VR headset and play with your friends and listen to music, and it was just like a cool idea. But that introduced me to making art in VR with the headset. And so then I would go in, and now what I do is I make my art with the headset on, sculpt stuff around using various software. And then I'll take that 3D object and then kind of revert back to what I always was doing and put that into my photography. And right now it's a lot of landscape based stuff, as I live here in Colorado and been out here for 6-ish, 7-ish years now. So it's just really like a fun, like really creative feeling thing that I get to do and just kind of like share with the world. And then with the NFT thing, it was like now being able to connect with people that understand what I'm doing in digital art and finding value in that, and then having collectors, and then yeah, just going from there. So yeah, that's kind of my background and where we're at right now. Oh, I think you're muted.
You're right, I am. Thank you. That's amazing. I can't wait to hear more about what you're doing. Our next artist that we have is Grime. She has done an incredible job merging her traditional work with her digital work and has all kinds of insight and experience to tell us about. Allie, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and what's happening right now for you?
Totally. So like journey-wise, I started making art like 5 or 6 years ago. I went to school at West Virginia for advertising and got pretty far in it, did really well at it, but kind of felt like I didn't feel really good in myself using my voice and my message to manipulate people to spend. Instead, I wanted to use this platform that I had, or use my creativity to help spread a more positive message and help breed something a little bit more just like positive into the world. And so I started painting, literally just like throwing paint onto a canvas, and it just felt so good that I decided to pursue it. And I dropped out of school, joined kind of the music industry, as they say, and worked every job in the music industry you can possibly work until I myself and a partner started a production company that was throwing like music festivals and curating like music for a record label. And then that led me to start curating live art for music festivals, large events. And then I traveled with a DJ for a while. And so my first experience with art really was painting in front of people and having this experience where I was watching people interact with my art as it was happening. And later on, I traveled with a friend, got introduced to murals, started painting murals. But I think what I was like missing in that practice was the interactivity component that I had had so early on in my career. And so as I started painting murals, I founded this artist named Bond True Love. And Bond uses augmented reality in all of his work, and he's a nut. He's like probably one of the most talented street artists out there, and he's like merging traditional sculptural work with these like super futuristic orbs and all of this, like really having this conversation on the merger of old styles mixing with this like futuristic wave. And I fell in love with it, saw that he was using an app called Artivive, and just decided that I would give it a shot. And so I started preparing all of my works to be animated in augmented reality for my murals, for my fine artwork. And it just worked out because I predominantly use Photoshop to design. And so now that everything's layered in Photoshop, it's ready to go into After Effects where I animate everything. And for the last couple of years, I've just been trying to help people learn how to use Artivive. It's free to start, so it's a really great platform for onboarding people. And I have just like dedicated my time to expanding my own digital understanding, whether it's learning new programs like Blender, getting better at things like After Effects, but also returning all of that information to the community around me so that they are able to use the same as well.
What an incredible origin story. I love hearing about the connection between the music industry and digital art. And I feel like that's a really great place to introduce just one way that we can use these digital technologies to get our art out there. Thank you, Allie. And then we have one more panelist today. His name is Yultek. He works with and created a fantastic company or arts organization out of Denver called IRL Art. If you are interested in any of the digital art workshops that we have to ramp up for the music festival, they are in collaboration with IRL Art. So you'll have some more opportunities to connect with Ewell and IRL Art. And Ewell has done a fantastic job, not only with his own art, but he is also helping other artists in the Web3 space and to create some augmented reality art. So I'm going to let Ewell tell us a little bit about what is going on for him and his origin story. I'll pass the mic to you, Ewell.
Yeah, hey everyone. Thank you so much for having me on. Thank you, Liz and Leah, for putting all this together. Same with Grime, eceertrey, both total rock stars in the art world. So it's really amazing to be up here on the panel with them. But yeah, I'm Ewell Jorgensen, also known as Yultek on social media. And I'm a multimedia artist that lives all across Colorado and does projects now all around the world. So it's been a really exciting, fun process. Originally, I started doing more traditional art, drawing, pencil drawing, painting, sketching. And then that slowly moved into some sculptural work. And I did my first public sculpture piece. I believe it was 2015. And it was this big, ugly hunk of metal. But going through the process of learning how to make it safe and learning how to work with the city and learn how to build a proposal, that really got me interested in larger scale projects and work. And ultimately, that's when I got into music festivals and started seeing a lot of really, amazing stage work, big art installations. And that was my goal and dream, is to do stuff on that scale. And so I started getting involved in the festival work and been working on and off for numerous events over the last 5 years, like Sonic Bloom and Envision and the Eclipse Festival, along with a bunch of other big music festival events that have happened. And through that process, I learned a lot of leadership skills, management skills for larger scale projects. And that's what kind of led me into the next few stages of doing client work, a wide range of commercial metal work to fine art and historical murals as well, where I take a lot of historical elements and work with the city and the county to build public custom murals for the county. And through that, I met Annie from IRL Art, who's my partner and love of my life as well. So it was really amazing to get to work with someone that you're so close to. And together we've been, especially post-COVID, we really had to shift industries due to the music industry semi-collapsing. So we really pushed towards digital arts, and we're able to get some really amazing opportunities to build 3D spaces, as well as create AR filters and utilize a lot of technology, do a lot of really cool remote projects. And that leads us to now we have a physical gallery space and all sorts of resources online for educating artists how to get involved with the blockchain, how to mint your first NFT, how to create 3D space. So all of those resources are available, and they're also in the YouTube videos for our workshops we just made. So, but yeah, really excited to be here, and thank you, everyone.
Amazing. Thank you, Ewell. And I will just reiterate for everyone, I have been checking out the resources at IRL Art. They do have fantastic resources to help you. And that's something we'll highlight again at the end of the panel with a little more information for you all. So I would love to hear, it's amazing to hear everyone's origin story. I would love if any of you had some advice for our fantastic audience of artists out here on how they can capture value by creating NFTs and creating digital art, and also how they can provide value to the collectors and to patrons of the arts using this technology. And I will put that out to anyone who feels like they have a good handle or something that will be valuable to say about that one.
I could start on some of that. You know, that's one of the main things that we work on is trying to find out how these tools and technologies apply to artists and how they can utilize them for a wide range of things, whether it's marketing, whether it's creating more incentive for people to show up and interact with their artwork, or if it's for adding new layers and accessories and making like clothes or artwork or prints a little bit more than just a print. And so through these processes with AR filters and learning animation and being able to take artwork and turn it into a three-dimensional moving experience lets you something we talk about a lot within the IRL team is how we can build a story to really like help tell those stories utilizing these tools. And that's one of the things I'm really excited for. Like my dream project would be to work with museums to create AR filters that help tell their stories. So, yeah. I don't know if you guys want to add anything.
Yeah, I'll add something. I would say like for how people could utilize it or like get into it or get started in it. It's like, I feel like one of the best ways is to like play, like if you draw or paint or do anything right now, like you can kind of like transition that into digital stuff by doing Photoshop, or if you have an iPad, there's Procreate, which is a great app on the iPad for digital painting. And each layer that you add of like, imagine like if you're using a regular paintbrush and paint, and you like use red paint, and then you go use a blue paintbrush and then like a different color, each one of those becomes a layer digitally. And then there's a really easy way to like export that file and create an AR experience with that, be it in an app that you download additionally, or like through Snapchat or Instagram. And it's not as complicated as it seems. And it's like such a cool way to see your art like happen. And yeah, then to be able to then like what I do as an example would be like take the 3D object, put it into a photograph, and it's more of a traditional fine art 2D JPEG image. But that 3D asset, then if someone bought, or one of my collectors, if they buy this NFT, right, I can send them, I'll be like, hey, what's your phone number? And I can send them the AR file. They don't need an app, and they can see that object as a digital sculpture on their iPhone, wherever they go with their friends, if they're out at dinner, if they're on vacation. And this thing like becomes now like a whole new experience of like how people interact with it. And yeah, I don't know, that's what I would add.
Yeah, I totally agree with both of them, that these are just things that are augmenting the world. I mean, that's what augmented reality is. It's just elevating the world that we exist in. I know, like personally, I've used AR to help tell a narrative in my own work, but I'm also just a really strong believer that the concept of what street art, and that's like more so applied to me, but street art is so much more than just murals on walls. Street art really is the clothes we wear, the billboards we see, photography that we're interacting with, the way Matt does, like all of these things really tie into the world. And in a very near future, we are really all going to be wearing glasses that augment the world around us. And so as a street artist, I feel like within my craft, it's almost our responsibility to start placing these things out into the world. because in a not so far future, advertising agencies are going to occupy a lot of space around us, and they're going to occupy a lot of the space in people's minds because they're going to have a lot more access to you 24/7. So if we can claim that space ahead of time and put art there instead of things that just tell you to consume, then we can actually help inspire people and give people a little bit of that mental break that we're going to need in the future when we're just completely bombarded with information.
Agreed.
Awesome. I love hearing everyone's perspective, and everyone in the audience just know, obviously we've outlined Ewell and IRL Art as a great resource. Utilize Streetwise, contact us, ask us questions. Thank you also eceertrey and Grime for allowing us to see that this doesn't have to be so overwhelming or complicated, and there is a fun way to just play and start creating digital art. I really appreciate that outlook. From there, I wanted to ask Allie, I know we've spoke about this before, and you have had a really incredible experience and been fantastically successful at really merging your traditional analog painting and your digital art, and keeping everything to really feel like you, and all the work still has the same feeling. And I know you've been utilizing it sometimes on a commercial level and for your murals. Will you tell us a little bit more about your process for doing that?
Totally. So as I mentioned, I start everything in Photoshop or sometimes Procreate. Everything is digital first. So when I'm in the process of building my pieces, I do it intentionally, kind of thinking about how I want to animate it at the end, so that I'm keeping layers together or concise, or so that, you know, I'm structuring things so that when I move into animating, it becomes super simple. So my first step, I think, is to have a vision or a plan for what I want that final product to look like, what story I want to tell, what message I want to deliver through that augmented reality or extra digital portion. Then I do all the work to build it, which is the fun part, the part I actually like. And then I move everything into After Effects to animate it, which is the least nice part, and it's terrible, but I do it anyway because it's fun. And I only say it's terrible because After Effects is really clunky and it makes my computer shut down every 5 seconds. But the end product is beautiful. And then after that, I use various different apps to kind of link them. I mentioned Artivive. I'm an ambassador for Artivive, so I try and use them on a lot of as many things as I can. Sometimes a client doesn't want to have to download an app, so I'll choose another avenue. We use something called web-based AR, which doesn't necessarily need an app. It just brings you to a landing page on the web, and that opens the AR experience, which can be a little bit expensive of an option sometimes. But if a client is looking for that, you can offer that to them. And then more recently, I started to include an RFID chip into my pieces. So previously you would need a QR code to download Artivive or just to like trigger it to open. But now I'm putting these chips inside of my paintings. And also I've done it twice, but on murals, where you just tap your phone into the center of one of the eyes, and then it opens up the AR experience in Artivive if you have the app downloaded, or it prompts you to download it from there.
That's super fun. I am at a later date, I'm going to dig in and ask you a little bit more about your experience using the RFID chips, but I like the idea that it makes it very accessible to anyone viewing the work to be a part of the AR experience. On that notion, on a similar line of questioning, Ewell, I know that you have both used and helped other people to use Web3 technology in other ways beyond just creating NFTs. And allowing this Web3 technology and the blockchain to help you even fund some of your projects or fund some other artist projects. Will you tell us a little more about that and maybe ways that the artists in the audience could be utilizing the blockchain?
Yeah, so so it's interesting. One of the main things when this conversation gets started around other artists, especially new people, something that I always say is that there's a lot of other ways to earn a living and make money in Web3 outside of just making NFTs, especially for artists and creatives. Honestly, over the last, I'd say year and a half now, about 50%, actually probably about 70% of my income has come from crypto-based projects, which is really exciting. And there's so much opportunity in the space right now, and something that we've taken on and received multiple large grants for is 3D metaverse building. That's kind of one of my main things that I facilitate is with IRL art is we recreate a lot of events and spaces in 3D for different events, like Sonic Bloom Music Festival. We did Ethereum Denver. We also did EF Dev Connect, which is the Ethereum conference in Amsterdam, as well as Far Out Murals, which is the mural program that I manage in Southern Colorado. So we've been able to do a lot of really exciting projects as a whole team. And through that, been able to pretty much provide a living wage for our entire team of 8 people over the last 6 months now. A lot of these organizations, they're called DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, but they're amazing groups where instead of a business with a hierarchy and a CEO, the entire company and brand and organization is owned by the holders of the coin or the NFT or whatever that looks like in the crypto space. And everything that the company does is voted upon by the community, the holders. So that really makes all the decisions extremely democratic. And ultimately, what a lot of these organizations do, especially if they do well and earn a lot of money and the value of their coin goes up, is they create governance systems where they're able to distribute grants and opportunities to artists and builders. And that's what we've been applying to. It's very similar to other grant proposals that you would do with the city, but it's for a crypto organization with their own guidelines and requests that they're looking for that benefit their community and their larger network as well. So it's been a really awesome process. And we have all sorts of information laid out in our docs about how to find some of these proposals and grants and opportunities. But the majority of our projects have some element where it's crypto funded now. And whether it's graphic design, whether it's 3D design, whether it's making, custom art or themes or music videos or dance routines, there's all sorts of ways that you can integrate your art form and bring value to the organization, even in your own terms. We were able to just pick the events that we wanted to recreate, and they accepted our thing. We didn't just have to do solely client work. So it's really amazing the kind of freedom and the excitement that's in the space where people are just really looking for creatives that are also literate with Web3. It's a much smaller group than you would think, and that's why there's so many opportunities available right now, all across the board. Like eceertrey doing projects with Meta. There's so many amazing things happening in the space right now, and the focus on digital art and technology in the metaverse is extremely high, and a lot of these big organizations and companies are paying attention to that. And I think just the year I've spent learning and introducing myself to this completely different world and demographic has really helped me broaden what I can do as an artist. So
that's super awesome. I want to follow up with the fact that you are doing some building of metaverse spaces. I know you and AL Grime are working together on a project right now. Is there any chance you could share that with us?
Yeah, here, let me pull it up here.
I'm also gonna give Yul more credit because really I just like word vomited ideas at him, and then he perfectly created what I was thinking and made it even better.
Good job, Yul.
Of course.
That's the goal. It's all about making magic here. Almost there. The Grime verse. All right, I'm gonna share my screen here. And I'll show you guys. Oh, can you enable screen share for me real quick? Sweet. All right. So here we go. Let's enter the Grimeverse. So this is CryptoVoxels. This is an amazing metaverse space that you can actually build in for free. The parcel that we're on is actually purchased, and it's actually a whole world of digital parcels, digital equity that people can own the properties and build. And pretty much it's an entire world of galleries. But here we're actually in A.L. Grimes' beautiful new Honolulu beach pad that we have out here. And it's this amazing space inspired by a book that has brought a lot of inspiration for a lot of her work. So it's really cool to tie in her story and build those and talk about the past, present, and future of A.L. Grime within an architectural space. So yeah, Ali, maybe you can tell us about the artwork that we're going to be putting in here in anticipation for the Denver Waltz event.
Totally. So I reached out to you a little while ago to help me bring this together because I don't know how to do this. And I gave him the prompts of I wanted to draw inspiration from Falling Water, which if you're an architecture buff is one of my favorite buildings that exists. And then also tying together this book, We, that is super post-apocalyptic Russian creepy novel. And I wanted to build a quote unquote street art gallery, but we're going to feature streetwear, street art, street photography, and have things that are interchanging that help highlight how street art, streetwear, street photography are being shown in these Web3 spaces. So downstairs, we're going to have kind of like a clothing gallery. Then you'll move up into this like lounge art gallery. And then my goal would be if I need to figure out how we can do this, but there is a VR game called King Spray Graffiti, where you can actually like do graffiti through your Oculus. So I would love to be able to project some of that so that we have kind of like a like live tagging wall within this upstairs space that Yul made. Yeah, so that it's ever changing and it's kind of like a sandbox, like anyone can come and mess with it. But all things in development as we continue to build this beautiful space. I'm obsessed with it. I hope one day I can like build this as a real house and live in it because Yul crushed it.
I will teach you the ways.
It's so good.
We put up safety cones because it's still under construction.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
man.
the crane doesn't get you. And we're next to the Gucci store. I'm just gonna flex that really quick.
This is amazing. I can't wait to hang out in this AR space and get into the metaverse and explore. And Allie, also, I hope you do get to build this house and live in it. And this would be an incredible place to be in our normal reality also. Can one of you guys share, do you have any idea when this will be available and when people can start viewing the space and how?
So you can go into it now. If you go into CryptoVoxels, the address is 7 Quinn Street. So you can just type that in and you can visit it anytime as of now. And then it will just continue to grow and expand. I have I released some augmented reality clothing last year, but I have another clothing line coming out. So hopefully by the end of the year, when that clothing comes out, we'll have at least the first floor completely finished so that you can explore that. And then I'll continue to change and update the art, and the artwork won't only just be mine. Like, I really want to make sure that we have open wall spaces that are constantly changing, for specifically for people that are focusing on street art, streetwear, and street photography within the space. So keep eyes peeled, and I'll probably have like a little open call for people to submit pieces so that we can change these out often.
He's doing a dance.
Yes, dance.
You will also make wearables, and I wear this balaclava inside of crypto voxels that he gave me.
Yeah, we're gonna make a whole fashion line, so watch out, Will.
Yeah, and it was super cool. I remember for, what was it, Ethereum Denver, like 2 years ago during COVID, it didn't actually happen in person. So Yule like worked with the IRL art team, and like everyone put together this awesome CryptoVoxel space as well for that, right?
Yeah, that was the introductory project that got me
Yeah.
in. And he was like, "Hey, I remember you saying you played Minecraft before." And I was like, "Yeah, of course." I didn't think I'd ever make money off of playing Minecraft, but through that process, this program's very similar. And from there, it just kind of expanded into 3D software and everything that I was interested in, just never had the time or energy to learn. So it was just like the perfect opportunity to jump right in. Perfect timing too.
It was perfect timing too for me, in the sense where you guys had reached out and were like, hey, we want to put one of your sculptures in there. So it was like an interesting and super cool process to see like something that was made in VR originally, then made into like a 3D file, and then sent over to you guys, and then like remade for another VR world metaverse. So it's just like, it's futuristic and super cool. So I love it.
Awesome. I could just watch you dance in here, Ewell, for like ever. I'm really enjoying this.
Oh, here, let me stop my screen share.
I'll go back on
There
my
we go.
own another time. So on that notion, eceertrey, it's really awesome that you mentioned that your VR creations were moved into the metaverse and that all of you were working together on this. Do you want to tell us a little bit more, not only about creating work that's meant to be viewed as virtual reality, but as you mentioned earlier, actually creating your artwork while you are using a VR headset?
Yeah. So it's very fun. It's a very fun process in that, like, I always liked the idea of like making sculptures, like working with clay and like doing that kind of stuff. But it always was like, I only got to do that when I was in school. And now to be able to like reach down to the floor and like push a button with your hand, basically with a controller, and like reach back up over your head and then go between your legs. And like the one really fun thing is scale. So like anything could be made really small or made really big by pulling your hands apart or pushing your hands together. So you can have like a little doodle that you did, and then you can pull, and now you're like looking around and it's like you're inside of this building that is all the parts of your doodle, and then you can scale it back down and make little adjustments and stuff. And so what I use to do all this, I use this guy right here, which is the Oculus, Meta Quest 2 headset. And with that headset, I, with no cables or anything, connect it to my computer and run the Oculus store on my computer, which allows me access to like a little more powerful processing and additional software. So on there, I use Adobe Medium. So it's like Adobe Photoshop, right? It's just a software that Adobe has now made for doing this kind of art in virtual reality. So I use that tool, kind of move and just sculpt whatever like feels right, and just shapes that are pleasing, but sometimes stuff that I don't even know. It's kind of like sketching in a sketchbook, but in 3D space around you, right? and you can change colors and do all sorts of fun stuff. And from there, it's like, yeah, I can take that file and I could send it to someone like Ewell, and he can put it into another metaverse place. Or what I found out through all my searching and like stuff with the augmented reality portion is like, oh, there's like ways that I can just take this now and see it in augmented reality on my phone. So when I go on a hike somewhere in Colorado, I'll just like take my phone out, put the sculpture there, kind of like place it, and then take a little video of it. And then I can share that with people, or I can sell that as an NFT. And it's just like all these other kind of crazy components. One really fun one is I'm working with these guys from Paris. They're called Scavenger Ar, and it's a way to like really be able to like just geolocate and be able to share this, as Ali had said, via a web AR experience. So you send someone a link, you just text someone a link, or you have like something that you can scan, a QR code. And instead of having to download an app itself, it just loads that AR experience. And in this case, it will only load it if it knows the GPS coordinates of your phone as you're using it. So when you're within a ring, and I can create the ring distance, it could be 10 meters or 50 meters or 500 meters. And whenever a cell phone enters that ring and has scanned this thing, then they can do that experience. So like one of the really fun things I'm like trying to work with and like find some brands to work with is to put these objects on the top of mountains in Colorado. And then like an outdoor brand could be like, hey, the first 100 people to go find this thing and interact with it, like get this other thing, be it an NFT or a physical item from their store or something. There's just so many possibilities there. So yeah, and then one fun thing I'll show you here. I'm gonna flip my screen around here. Let's see if you guys can see this. Let's see here. Yeah, so in the process also of the 3D objects, like after it's made in the headset, I can put them into the photographs that I take, right? And in here, I can kind of show you guys how I would begin to be like, like I would want something to kind of sit in the middle of the scene here and be lit in this specific way. And this photograph I took myself at White Sands in New Mexico. And then you can sit here and kind of play with different ways to color the object digitally, you know, and it's like painting in a new way, but not painting. And then you can apply like actual textures, so like stone materials, or you could apply the colors to everything at once, which is super fun, and just get some really interesting things. And this is before it's even rendered. So then it would look more like something like this. And then when you do the actual process of rendering, it's like, sometimes it can take, on old computers I had, it would take hours, but through selling NFTs and through like making all this art and just like continuing to do it and like reinvesting in myself, now it's like, oh, I have like a really nice computer where I can do this quickly and stuff can look really cool, and I can like sketch in a way, but it's not sketching, it's all digital and all with these new tools. So yeah, that's like what I've been doing and what I love right now.
Oh, that's so fun. That's so cool. I can't wait to get up to the top of a mountain so I can be part of one of the experiences. It's like Pokemon Go for artists and art lovers that want gallery experience.
Yeah, it's so funny you said that too. So one of the amazing opportunities I've had in this last year was Wired magazine, the old technology magazine, reached out to me and was like, hey, we're doing an article on the founder of Pokemon Go. And he's the CEO of a company called Niantic, which is the company that makes the app for Pokemon Go. And they were like, yeah, we would like you to do the artwork for the Wired magazine article. So I got to do that. And then Meta, like Yul had mentioned, Meta is like, that used to be Facebook, but now they've rebranded as Meta. And they had reached out and were like, will you do an augmented reality sculpture for us? And I got to be one of 4 artists from around the world that did like a sculpture that's in their building, but it's only a QR code and it's only in augmented reality, but it's like, they're like, yeah, this is the future. Like, this is what we want. So yeah, the opportunities are so cool. And yeah, it's crazy.
Yes, this is amazing. on that notion, it would be great to hear, it's awesome to hear about your projects and your success with Meta. And I would love to hear from all of you guys, what are you working on right now? We've got to see a couple things. Is there anything else you want to tell us about that you're excited about that's happening right now?
I have one that I just like would jump to say. I just like 2 days ago, GameStop, they announced their NFT marketplace, and they had reached out months back to me and were like, will you be a launch artist? And while it's launched, it's been super cool because I feel like I'm one of the only artists on that whole marketplace, but it ties into like the belief of like, I don't know, kind of like this counterculture renegade, like we can take down the man kind of thing, where like cryptocurrency and all this stuff is like based in that ethos originally. Like Bitcoin paper came out in 2008, Nakamoto, right after the big financial crisis then, when it was like, we need to rethink about how we do money. And so to be then like GameStop in a meme way, right, is like, we're going to challenge investment firms and challenge dark pool money, and like to then tie this into NFTs and like to be a part of that. Yeah, that's like super excited. And I have an edition. It's the first time I did editions, and I did like 100 of them for like $100. So it was like the cheapest thing I've ever released as an artist, and they're selling. It's been pretty cool to see. And yeah, it's just super fun. So that's like the most exciting thing that's happening for me right now that I've been working on, taking all my energy.
I got one of those editions because I'm poor and I can't afford Matt's hefty prices. But I'm honored to have your edition that I'm sure will be worth $1 million one day.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. That's so kind. I really do appreciate it. You know, we're all supporting each other, which is like the coolest feeling ever too. It's like to feel like we're part of this community and we're all in it together. So yeah, thank you.
I was gonna ask, where can I find these? I need to pick one up.
Oh, here, I'll send a link in the chat here. The collection itself is called Terra Odyssey, and here it is. So it's like nft.gamestop.com is their official website, and it's just in the collections, but I just linked directly to my collection there. But it was like 5 pieces, and then the one piece, because like Ali said, like I like to like value myself as an artist. I think all of us as artists should value what we do. And like brands have taken advantage, marketing companies, like people have taken advantage of us for so long that like, I like in some way to put in an unobtainable price tag on something that I really love that I made in the hope, like, I don't think like that someone might buy it. It's just that I have a piece of art worth that much money. Like that's like, it adds value to what I do and to like who I am. So it's just like a part of that and believing it. So yeah.
Yes. And you've worked super hard. You've sold how many NFTs on Super Rare, and you're like their cover boy. So you work hard for it. I'm a poor person, so I'll take my edition.
No, I feel that as someone that has struggled for so many years. It's like, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have even imagined like 3-4 years ago buying a piece of art for $100, because I'm like, I need to pay my rent, and like I can't frivolously spend, but like, I don't know. No, it feels good. And thank you guys.
Love to see it. I love to see it.
What are you doing? What are you working on?
I'm gonna first second that artists should be paid and we shouldn't be ashamed of it. And whether you're, working behind the scenes like Ewell does, or you're just the freaking AR wizard over here, I don't think any of us should ever feel ashamed for like earning our keep, and also for like valuing ourselves the way that we feel we deserve to be valued, And so big ups to you for that. I am overwhelmed always with work, as I'm sure we all are. But I just Finished my last painting probably for the year, and I have a couple of big walls that I am not allowed to say where they are, but have a big wall coming in 2 weeks, then a couple other murals here locally, and then I am starting the first Denver Walls, which is another mural festival located in Denver. And we will also be using augmented reality, both for a sculpture garden and on some of our murals, and having some fun conversations around art and technology. It just felt authentic to me to make sure that those things were present. And hopefully these two superstars will be able to have some sculptures with us in our sculpture garden, which is going to be in a really cool spot. I'm super excited. And I just also want to like shout out Leah. I talked to her when I first started the festival, and you know, there's like, I've traveled a lot and I've done a lot of mural festivals, and there's like very few people that are doing things as intentionally as Leah and Streetwise, and also Ewell and Far Out Murals. And I hope that we can model ourselves the way that the two of these have been able to model theirs, and making sure not just that you're bringing art to communities, but that you're representing the voices of those communities and doing it as well. And that's where I really feel the responsibility of street art, to make sure that we're telling the stories of the communities that surround those walls, that we're not just imposing ourselves on places, but also that you know, we are able to contribute and create that synergy. And if technology can be a part of that conversation, then we're all winning. We're pushing ourselves towards the future.
Thanks, Allie, for sharing that. I'm excited to see what your new mural festival looks like. I've already been obviously following the Streetwise Festival and the Far Out Mural Festival, but we can't really have enough of them, I don't think. I want to touch briefly, I want to make sure we leave time for questions. All of you in the audience, I'm sure you have questions, as I do, and we are going to get to those in just a moment. I do want to touch on briefly, there is a maybe a little bit of controversy around how the blockchain technology affects and impacts our environment. And there's a lot of ways to think about this. I was wondering if any of you panelists have a individual perspective on this and how it is being mitigated.
Yeah, I feel like I got a lot of things I can say about that. You know, we entered in the space relatively early, especially Annie, my partner. She's been dealing with crypto since 2013. She's definitely a super OG in the space, and seeing the development of it has been pretty wild. You know, early on, there were so few transactions. The impact of the amount of processing data that it takes. It's a bunch of big computer banks in some big warehouse that are, you know, taking up electricity to process all this data. So with the rise in crypto and the interest, so has the volume, electricity, and usage. And a lot of people address that early on. That's like half the conversation. It's either people are really excited or they're like, oh, but the environment. Luckily, a lot of organizations and communities that we especially work with are taking some massive steps to take those initiatives and also keep the rest of the community accountable for that as well. So what a lot of these organizations are doing are like Ethereum moving to Ethereum 2.0. You know, they're reducing and simplifying their codes, making it more efficient, so it doesn't require nearly as much energy and electricity to process these individual transactions. Along with that, there's a lot of organizations that have a zero carbon footprint. They've specifically, whether it's through offsets or through a range of different systems and programs, they're able to actually offset all of their carbon emissions. And some of them actually do double, you know, they'll double offset their emissions. And a lot of those decisions are actually community voted So that's where it's not just the CEOs doing it to save face. They're doing it because the community voted on it, and that's the requirement that the organizations agreed to do as a whole. So it's really empowering how these decentralized organizations are utilizing this system of democracy to make these decisions for the businesses as well, to make sure that they're being held accountable. And along with that, there's a lot of different projects where your NFTs, such as Doing Good, for example, where they have tools in place where every single time an NFT is sold, the artist can actually select from a wide range of nonprofits that a portion of the funding goes to. That way they can utilize their NFT platform to actually support these nonprofits, organizations, really making change rather than, getting money and then eventually some money might get to some organization. There's absolute transparency and it's 100% automated. So they immediately get the money in their check the second one NFT sold, whether it's 10 cents they get or $10,000 will be immediate and won't have to go through a bank, and people won't take their cuts along the way. It eliminates those middlemen for a lot of those nonprofit negotiations. So it's really empowering to see how these Web3 tools are being used to take those civic level conversations to a much farther place.
Shout out to
let's-
Dallas.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Allie.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, I always like to challenge it, or like to have people think about, like, it's like, oh well, like cryptocurrency and like the energy usage and our environment, and like it's definitely an important thing, but if you want to like start to think about like the reality in which we exist a little deeper, it's like, well, what funds the US war machine? US dollars. And it's like, what has the largest global carbon footprint? The US military. And it's like, we as artists could focus our attention like all together to solve like the real people that should be held accountable for this kind of stuff, instead of like focusing on like hyper pointing amongst ourselves and trying to infight of like, oh, well, you use Ethereum and Ethereum uses this much energy, you should be on this chain or da da da. And it's like, but like, we're all in this like little on this planet flying through the galaxy. Like, we should like focus on like the real people making our lives and affecting everyone through like their decisions that are like untouchable in a way. And it's the first time we were able to even kind of talk about that or do that in a way. So like I bring up like in the traditional art world too, how many like at the top level of art at the Sotheby's, Christie's levels, it's like the top collectors for that. It's like, yeah, they'll call in and like have their person that works there, but it's still like there's an employee that works in a place with a building and they pay rent for this. And it's like, there's a lot of carbon footprint involved in that as well. And then I like to share the idea, the little snippet that the term carbon footprint was like created as a British Petroleum or Shell, like hired a company to do damage control for them in like the 70s and 80s. And that the firm like talking to this oil company was like, oh, we have the idea of a carbon footprint. So you can shift the blame to all the people and you don't have to change how you do business. And I don't know, that's kind of how I'm like pitchfork about that.
I love that the anarchist in all of us is exploding at this question. That was amazing. Amazing points all around. I would just also add, again, coming from the street art world, I can't tell you how many pollutants I release into the air via every single spray can I use. It's the tool that we use. It's literally nothing compared to the like people that travel on an airplane every day. You know, we all contribute in our ways, but choosing platforms that maybe have a carbon offset or donating some of the Ethereum you earn to a lot of these organizations that are actively working on their carbon offset, I think does a lot of good. Also, just digital art, in my opinion, is way less wasteful. Like I choose to sketch in Photoshop so that I'm not wasting paper. I will make sure that my ideas are perfected before I touch canvas, because paint has a lot of pollutants and it's like not super good for the environment to be dumping it into soil or, you know, down the drain. So I make sure that before I ever touch like a physical medium, that I have like created as little waste as possible around me. And I think, you know, on an accessibility point, for sure an iPad is expensive, but investing $1,000 in an iPad is literally less than the amount I spend on art supplies every year for just for my murals, let alone everything else. Procreate costs $4. So realistically, getting a payment plan on an iPad is actually in the long term cheaper, because you can my previous iPad I had for 8 years and it did fine. I worked on it forever. That initial investment of $1,000, one, wasted less material and energy than anything else, but it also just was more affordable if you really think about it.
As devil's advocate too to that, even though it's like we as like the companies producing these things could do better to like pay the regions of the world that are mining these precious metals that go into these things, and like we could all like do a better job. Like there, like it could be like even like all of my computer stuff is all made of stuff that like comes from other places in the ground. So it's like I understand it all, and I think once you understand it, then you can like start to ask questions about like, how does this work like this? Like, why is it like this? And then we all together have discussions like this, and then we all grow and we like go have other conversations with people about this kind of stuff. So yeah.
Amazing. I'm glad the anarchist is coming out in everyone. I know that there's many perspectives on this, but I think it's just important that we're all thinking about it and everyone has really considered what it means, and that it's not just on us as artists, but that this is something that everyone needs to be considering. And then I just want to tell the three of you, I am so grateful. I know that I am the host and I've reached out to you, but I am just so grateful to be here and listen to all of your stories. And I hope that all of you in the audience have really appreciated hearing about these experiences and projects. And I would like to open it up for some questions. So if you have a question, a general question or a question for a specific artist, if you could use the hand raising tool, and we'll try to get through as many questions as we have time for. If you don't know how to use the hand raising tool, also go to reactions on Zoom, and there's it literally says on the bottom, raise hand. It's really easy.
I have a question for Ewell first off, right away. It's like you had mentioned that you were doing like digs in Colorado, and like they were like ancient stuff. Or was that these are real things that you found, or were they like you're like imagining upon those kind of things?
Yeah, so I got brought on by a team who are excavating these different parts and pieces, mainly just fragments. And what they've asked me to do is they have a group of people that try to assemble them, but they brought me on to pretty much try to recreate them, just sketches mainly. But from there, I've been working with them and all these other projects that we've been doing. It's like, hey, you know, let's 3D scan all these pieces and sell them as NFTs, and then use that to fund the actual project. Because right now we're at a standstill because everything's dried up for us to actually go back to any of the dig sites. So it's been put on the back burner, and ultimately it's a private collection. So a lot of these pieces are never going to see the light of day. So this gives an opportunity where we're actually going to be able to document them and preserve them. And now, since we're going to be recreating them, 3D scanning them, all in 3D, they're all going to have AR filters. Now I'm trying to figure out how to build layers on my AR filters as well. So you can tap it and it will tell you a story, or you can tap it and it'll play a video and show images and content of us digging. So utilizing that AR for far more informational stuff. But yeah, it's really exciting. We've got a huge inventory of pieces. This is actually a recreation of one piece we found right here as well. So being able to take it and utilize all these digital tools to help us recreate them and show people what all these amazing fragments came from. So it's pretty amazing work.
That's super cool.
Thanks for asking. Yeah,
I
and
like
I
that you
actually
just have questions for each other. That's fantastic.
yeah, I actually have a question for you, Allie. So how many muralists do you think you're going to have, and what's your thoughts about all the AR augmentation you talked about, a sculpture garden? I'd love to hear a little bit more about your plans there. Any way I can help too.
Yeah, totally. So right now we're keeping it to 12 to 15. I have a couple confirmations awaiting. I wanted to keep it small and make sure we're being intentional, like, really putting thought into all the pieces that we curate. And then for the sculpture garden, I got the inspiration. I started curating these NFT events. And in New York City, where I just came from, we had this like big sculpture garden outside of our event, and it featured a bunch of artifact sculptures as well as a couple of like client objects that people could interact with using a platform called Illuspace, which is amazing. Illuspace links directly to an NFT in your wallet. So you, like, let's say someone buys one of your NFTs, you can actually place it anywhere in the world and it'll exist there. And then when people click on it, it shows who owns it, which is awesome. You can like flex your collection. And it also, if it's like for sale, it'll like take you to OpenSea or wherever to buy it. But then the coolest part about it is that they have their own check-in feature called Pops, proof of presence, and you can collect the Pops, and then using Illuspace on the back end as like the creator of that layer or of like the experience, you can actually reward people in the future. So similar to what Matt was talking about earlier, sorry, eceertrey, about the about these scavenger hunts. Illuspace kind of has that built-in capability too, but it just like allows you to see the ownership of every piece that gets dropped. And so we're going to have these geolocated sculptures outside of Mission Ballroom, and we'll be able to change them year to year. Or like if a musician's coming, they have a big NFT like project. I know like Peggy Goo did it, a couple other artists did. We can like drop them outside of the Mission Ballroom, and then people can take pictures with it, engage with it. But most importantly, I think it also gives that extra like blockchain education, in that like for me, NFTs are beyond the art. They're actually just that certificate of authenticity. The art is like the beautiful packaging of it, but what matters is that like hash code that says who owns it, when they created it, who it was transferred to. And so I'm hoping that using that platform that we can help people have a little bit deeper understanding. Because I know when people ask me like what are NFTs, I always just tell them it's just a certificate of authenticity. And for some reason that feels very comfortable to a lot of people, whether they're coming from like a business world, an art world. The piece of art already existed digitally before the NFT. We're just helping prove that it's real.
Thank you for mentioning that. That's a big one.
I love that description. I've never heard anyone describe it that way. That's a very simple way to put it into the universe. I have been working really hard. So my background is in art, and I've been an artist for a long time. And I recently went back to school to get my master's in business. And I've been working really hard to try to connect entrepreneurship and art together and promote how artists can be business people and increase their profits by being knowledgeable. And somehow NFTs in both spaces seem to be confusing to everyone. And that is the simplest way I have ever heard it put by anyone. So great job with that, Ellie.
Yeah, I mean, NFT literally means non-fungible token. So it just means you can't copy, reproduce, or make fakes of it, because we can all see it. And the best part about the blockchain, I love stalking people's wallets. Like you can fact check everything. I can literally see how much money anyone has if you know their wallet. But yeah, or not just money. I can see what they spent it on. People can, will come out and, say, oh, like I've invested this and this. Imagine being able to hear a politician say, oh, we've invested $2 billion in this. And you can just look at their wallet really quickly and be like, no, you didn't. You spent $1 million on it, or you spent no money on it. So there's this extra level of accountability that exists on the blockchain that's never existed before. And I think it's beyond art. I think art is the vehicle for us to understand, but it's going to revolutionize business, travel, any interaction that human beings have with each other will eventually be authenticated through the blockchain, and it's going to completely revolutionize how we do everything.
Authentication. Adam, do you have something you want to ask for us? You can go ahead and out there.
Thanks. Hey, everybody. Really great conversation. Love everything everybody's been sharing. My question is, I know there's a lot of excitement around physical digital and creating all these things in a 3D metaverse world. But at the same time, people love showing up in person, having a party, good time, seeing actual art being exhibited. So just curious, what are you seeing that's been successful or working to curate and throw a physical event, which is also tied to a digital event? Any, success stories or suggestions of how to put that together?
I feel like Yule would know.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what we do full time at this point, and it's pretty amazing process. We do it a very wide range of ways. For example, in September, we have a group Meta Factory that's coming. They're going to be doing their second year of activation for MCon, which is a crypto event, and they pretty much rent out the gallery. And a lot of times we do reactivation 3D, and then have art, both digital art on display on physical screens, as well as the other way around. And something that's new that we've been working on is in getting involved into wearables as well, which is 3D outfits for your characters in these worlds. And something that a lot of brands and companies have been reaching out to us for is specifically a one-to-one recreation of outfits that they're creating. So we're actually going to be dropping soon in July. Our partner Rob the Art Museum, Sell Art Not Drugs on Twitter and social media, but we're actually going to be doing a fashion show, and this is in partnership with a big grant that we got through Decentraland, but we're recreating all of these one-of-one custom fashion outfits that they're going to be making in digital as well. So people will be able to own both the physical and digital. And exactly what Ali was talking about, that proof of authenticity, it's a great medium where you can send them the NFT, but that NFT actually has utility. You can decorate your character and add, it's just another layer and value to that piece, and proof of ownership as well. So we're really exploring a lot of that. There's also elements of token gating, where you can token gate an event, for example. You have to hold the NFT to enter the event. A lot of groups and organizations have done this, such as Meta Factory, who we work with. Friends with Benefits is another good example, or Bored Ape Yacht Club is another great one, where anyone who holds the NFTs will let you have access for free to these certain events. Some of it can get a little exclusive, but we've been trying to find ways of utilizing those tools for community benefit, where anyone who holds that is also eligible for airdrops and future NFT giveaways and wearable giveaways. And there's a lot of other ways that you can utilize having Web3 ticketing or an NFT or something like that to get some interaction with your community far past the actual event. So yeah.
That's awesome. Love it.
I would also add, in the pandemic, I think we saw a lot of music festivals doing metaverse recreations. Burning Man did it. Maybe Sonic Bloom did. I don't know, Yule, if you guys did it before, but a lot. I know Lightning in a Bottle did it, where if you maybe couldn't go there to attend because you didn't want to be in a potential risky environment, then you could actually just go to the festival in the metaverse. And I think like more people will. I hope that people will bring it back because it's a really good low cost option. You could still charge a small fee to get in, but it allows more people to have access to what you're creating without having to like overload a festival ground, for example.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to see it?
Yeah.
Sonic Bloom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Continue though, eceertrey. I gotta set it up real fast.
Okay. Yeah. I was just gonna say, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, like for an in-person kind of event, like I've gone to a handful of now like NFT events that were like, you're meeting in real life in this place. And the ones that seemed to work the best were the ones where the art had an easily a way, like an easy way for the person to kind of like figure out who made it. So it wasn't just random art on a screen. It was art on a screen, but with, like a QR code underneath it that took you to that person's page. And then like an example would be like the Zora party at Art Basel in Miami. It was like they had like just drawing stuff everywhere and like on these picnic tables. And it was like artists are coming to a party, right, together. And instead of just like playing like loud dance music and everyone being like in a dark room, it was like, this is an open air environment and there's art supplies everywhere. And everyone is like, oh yeah, like I know you. And there's like great conversations. And there's like really cool ways of like kind of doing a traditional like party, but like in a way where you're like networking with other NFT people. And it's like, it's a real thing and people are out there doing it. And that was like one of the most beautiful moments I've had too. And then I've gone into these virtual spaces too. Like I think I went to you mentioned the virtual Burning Man. Like I had my VR headset on when they didn't do it for COVID, and I was in there flying around with people. And it's like, there's people out there like doing these things now. It's like, it's just being a part of it, and like kind of jumping into it. So.
Show us.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Awesome. Yule, how are you doing over there? Getting there?
Dude, I
Can
don't
we
know how I
throw-
raised my hand, but here we go.
Okay.
So, oh wait, I can't spoil it yet. Hold on. All right, there we go. Sweet. So yeah, one part of our Decentraland grant was actually to work with Sonic Bloom to rebuild that. A lot of our events have been one-to-one recreations. That's like a big thing that I think a lot of groups seem to see the value in. So do you guys see me?
Is this in Blender?
Yeah, so this is all in Blender. So we were able to completely recreate the Sonic Bloom Music Festival. It's in a strange size plot because we were renting a plot in Decentraland. They're very expensive. I mean, tens of thousands of dollars per little virtual plot. So we rented a large estate and proceeded to build it. This was actually built by a whole group of people. Godfrey, Natalie, Kinthik, Andrew, who's on this call, all built different parts. Like Andrew built this stage over here, and Godfrey built this stage. And
So cool.
but then we were able to pipe this into Decentraland. Did you say something?
I said it's so cool.
So were you guys
Yes.
able to like have the music playing in Decentraland?
That's actually something we're working on right now. We were trying to get it uploaded during the event, but I also work Sonic Bloom. I manage art operations. So we set up all of the shade structures, one of the stages, pretty much any large scale art that requires like heavy lifting and stuff. So things got pushed a little back, but now it's cool because we get to actually add all those elements. We didn't know we were going to be there this year because we were just building it from our minds. Now I get to add all sorts of things that happen this year. I'm going to make a little sign that says Sonic Bloom without the wind, because that was a serious problem. So,
Or the
but
hail?
here, as you can see though, it's like fully 3D world, and soon, yeah, there's going to be music on all the stages. Sam Dreams Lost in Time, who's a local artist and photographer out here. He's actually one of our grant recipients. He built all these 3D spheres that you can actually go stand in and see previous shots of Sonic Bloom
Sick.
in a 360 setting.
Very cool.
Yeah, so there's these scattered all around, and we're adding hyperlinks so that you can see the high resolution versions. And those are being, those are being uploaded into Mona, which is a different metaverse world that's much higher resolution than this.
Could I stay in here with my headset on for the whole weekend? And is there like a campsite, like a tent that I could sleep in overnight?
Yes,
Oh my God.
actually, there's a whole campsite. We're gonna have digital ground scores you can find. Yeah, here's the art gallery space. Still got a few more art pieces to put up.
Super.
This is so cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then the yoga dome here, and then the meadow stage here, and then as well Natalie here. Oh yeah, so here's the campsite.
Hell
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
Don't worry,
You
we
need
got
half
a
the
spot.
tents like flipped over for
Yeah,
authenticity.
I'm gonna have one and it's gonna be like spinning up in the air. Just
Yeah,
like,
flying away in the wind. Yeah.
but yeah, and then Natalie actually built a whole cave inside the mountain.
Oh my God.
Oh my
Love it.
gosh.
Yeah,
Porta
so
potty cave. This is awesome.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Kids, don't go climbing in porta potties though.
exactly. Yeah, so and then since I built in Blender, I was able to also get some really cool renderings and shots of it because you can animate camera sequences and things. So here's a little shot of it animated.
So does the sky change or you guys are changing it like depending on the time of day?
In that shot where I was walking around, yeah, the sky, they have a dynamic sky, it's called, and it shifts around.
Yeah, well, doesn't
Wow.
it just, it will know what time of day, like wherever the user is logged in basically, and then it shows like for
Exactly.
them. Yeah.
Dope.
So actually, I got a question for you. How, for your lighting, do you use skyboxes or are you placing lighting, or like, how do you utilize the lighting for your shots as well? Very curious.
Man, back in the Cinema 4D days, I would hand rig a sun and I would I would just stare at the image and then walk away from it for like an hour and then come back over and look at it again and be like, was this where the shadow would be? And like, is it this intense? And now in Adobe Stager, there is kind of like the same thing, like a dynamic setting to where it tries using some AI to determine based on the photograph where the sun's position is and tries to do it, but I often have to edit that and make tweaks and everything. And then with the shapes, if I'm ever doing like a metallic texture on a shape, like people want like they like to do an HDRI, right? Like the 360 photo. But from my old kind of like just wing it days, I never like did that. So then it's just kind of like, oh, I like how it doesn't look right. It adds like some character that it's like not perfectly how the metal would reflect. It's like a different way. So yeah, it's mostly just like tweaking and playing now though. Like, yeah. A pain in the butt.
I know we are basically up on time, if you all have time to hang out for a couple more minutes, we did have one more question. Speaking of Andrew, he put a question into the chat that was, what factors do you use to decide on what platform you're using when minting your NFTs?
For me, it's like I always wanted to see my artwork 20 feet tall on a giant canvas in like a giant big room in a museum, right? So when the opportunities to start minting on different platforms are popping up, it was like, okay, like which is like the most like fine arts? Like where are the fine artists going? Like where are the people that I looked up to for the last 10 years? Like where do they mint stuff? But getting into it so long ago, that wasn't really the case. But Super Rare was where I minted first. And Super Rare, it was a platform where not everyone could mint. It was curated in a way. So like I had to take a video with my cell phone and like be like, hi, I'm eceertrey and this is the art that I do, and then have to be accepted. So I liked that because it felt like, oh, I'm like hacking into the fine art world now. And there's a lot of other platforms like OpenSea, but maybe I've minted like 2 pieces of like my photography work ever on OpenSea, but it was like, to me, that feels more of like a trading card kind of platform or something in a marketplace. And so like, I like to be, again, like, oh, I'll value myself real nice. It's like, what's the most fine art platform? And then I'm going to go mint there and then price my stuff so that when you sort by most expensive, it's like right near the top. It's just like, yeah, like hacking into their system of like, yeah, I don't know. That's how I went about it.
That's great.
Awesome.
I love it. I've minted in a few different places, but I keep things separate. So like I use foundation, but I only put my full color stuff there so that, because I do it rarely, it's like experimental, it can live there and that's fine. I've done like couple edition things that I've done on OpenSea because it's really easy. I use Manifold for those. And Manifold works really easily. Manifold allows you to write your own smart contract for people who don't know. But Manifold integrates really seamlessly into OpenSea, which makes doing some of those addition things pretty easy. But same thing, I am now working on a large collection, my like first actual like series. And this is a question that I'm pondering deeply as whether to like hold on to it and apply to Super Rare and see if I can get it onto there, or build my own minting site and have it be through my own website. We now are getting to a point where you actually don't have to use platforms and you can do everything yourself.
Yeah.
So I am looking more towards those options.
That was one of the coolest. That was one of the coolest things too. I remember there was an artist called Joy World. Do you guys know him?
Mm-hmm.
He wears like a yellow VR headset, and in talking with him, he was like, oh, I don't like any of the platforms. The whole point of cryptocurrency is self-sovereignty. Like we don't need any of the marketplaces. So like what Allie's saying, like what people can do, it's like you can have your own website and build your own website so that someone can buy your NFT from your website with the smart contract you made. Because when you go to a marketplace, like when I'm on Super Rare and I'm like, oh, I love it. But then when I make a sale, they take a percentage of that sale because it's like, oh, I'm using their contract, I'm using their service basically. So it's still like not fully autonomous and fully like yourself as an artist. So there's definitely a part of me too that was like, I see that as being almost the more like where people and artists will be headed in the future, is like just having your own contract on your own site. And it's like, you're running everything yourself and you don't need the marketplace anymore. And you don't need US dollars and traditional currency. We're like on to the new things. So, yeah.
Yeah. I will also note for people who are like not super familiar with NFTs and maybe just getting started, when you do choose a marketplace, make sure it's a stable marketplace, because if you're using someone else's contract and that company disappears, so will your art. Which is why I've used OpenSea in the past, because it just felt very stable. Foundation's very stable, known origin, maker's place, Super Rare. When these slightly sketchy small platforms pop up, I would be avoidant of them, just because unless they allow manifold integration and you can be the person creating that initial layer of authenticity, like make sure that you protect yourself and you don't want to have to spend money on minting something that might disappear in the future.
I agree with everything they just said. They're 100% spot on and know what they're talking about in those regards. Something Annie, my partner, she's been in the space a while, and making your own smart contracts is definitely the next big step. And it's really like we have those conversations all day, but hearing from other artists is really awesome. So that's like sweet.
Yep.
To anyone who has a lot of questions about all these different sites on the IRL resource docs, there is some details and information about each one of these platforms, and also like start to finish chronological order of like how to set up a wallet, how to set up your security and safety so that everything is preserved, because you're your own bank, you're your own manager, and that's a huge part of what Ali was saying of putting your investments into a platform that might disappear. That's on you. There's no insurance or anything for that. So just making sure to do your research, ask lots of questions. I'm sure any of us would be happy to answer those questions outside of this for that. And IRL Art is always there to support you guys on that journey into Web3. So
amazing. So I'm glad you brought up the resource doc again, Ewell. I just saw Leah dropped the resource docs into this chat. So if you want to dive in and take advantage of some of these resources that IRL Art has, there are links for you all in the chat. Or go to irlart.com, and at the bottom you can find all these resource docs. And additionally, if you want to check out any of AL Grime or eceertrey's work, of course you could follow them on social media. Now you know their names, but Ali's website is algrimeart.com, and eceertrey is just eceertrey.com. So super easy, great way for everyone to connect with all the artists on this panel.
I need to redo my site, admittedly. I have not touched it. I have not touched, I don't care about my website. It's like I do everything on social media these days. But yeah, I need to go back and fix this.
Follow him on Twitter. It's very aesthetically appealing.
Luckily, it's all the same name. You all have made it really easy for us to just know your name, and we can find you on the website or on social media. And then I also want to reiterate, Streetwise is putting on some more workshops before our mural festival on September 29th through October 2nd is the festival. So we will have some other workshops in combination with the IRL Art coming up. And we will have one more panel. We don't have a date for that yet, but we'll be talking a little bit more about NFTs and Web3 technology and how to put yourself out there and sort of the place where you can make this powerful move to make it valuable to you. And so follow Streetwise Arts and IRL Art to get information on the upcoming workshops and more information on the mural festival that's coming up. And then also feel free to pass this along. All of the previous workshops are on YouTube. You can connect to them through the Streetwise channel. And then this will also be posted on YouTube if you want to share it with anyone who missed the conversation today. And then lastly, again, I just want to thank you guys. Thank you so much for sharing your stories with us. Thank you everyone for coming and being interested in talking a little bit more about NFTs, blockchain technology, AR and VR, and how we can all utilize that. I think that opening up conversations and communication between artists and creating a community is super important. This is something that I feel strongly about, and also Streetwise feels strongly about. So thank you for all of your messages and information. And then once again, thank you to our sponsors, Boulder Arts Commission, the National Endowment for the Arts, and the Boulder County Arts Alliance helped us put this on. Thank you, Charlotte, for also coming to check it out from the Boulder County Arts Alliance today. Appreciate that. And hopefully we'll see you all again soon.
Yay. Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks everyone.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.